I just wanted to have a makeup chat with you guys today. I have really missed just chatting about makeup, sharing my opinions on it, just hearing what you guys have to say on my thoughts. That was the whole purpose of me starting my channel 14 years ago, was to just chat makeup with you guys. And that's what we're gonna be doing today. This is just gonna be a fun, chatty, a little bit of a spicy video, if you will, because I can almost guarantee that not all of you guys are going to agree with all of the opinions I have to share with you today. But that's the fun part of a video like this, is that I get to share my opinions. I'm sure you may or may not agree, and then we can chat about it in the comments below. Hopefully this video will just open up a discussion, because I am genuinely really curious what you guys think of my opinions in this video. Today we are going to be talking about makeup brands that I really want to love, but for one reason or another, I just can't. I just can't love the brand, either the products, the overall branding, just the overall brand itself. Something is just not hitting right here in my soul. And with the sheer amount of beauty brands there are out there, there needs to be something special in my opinion, in every brand that exists. But again, my opinions, I am sure, will not be the same as some of your opinions. I'm going to be talking about some brands in this video that I know some of you guys are major stans of. Some of the people in my real life absolutely love some of these brands I'm about to chat about, but for one reason or another, they just don't quite vibe with me. So let's talk about them. The first brand I want to talk about is Kosas. This is a rough one. Kosas is a brand that has gotten super popular, specifically from the Gen Z crowd, because of their clean beauty marketing. They're one of the brands that I feel like has done the whole, we don't do preservatives, we don't do all the bad, harmful chemicals in your makeup. And they have seemingly done it very successfully. And by it, I mean the marketing of the clean beauty. In case you guys are wondering about my stance on it, I don't believe in clean beauty. I don't believe it's a real thing. It's a very unregulated term in the beauty industry. And honestly, its roots are in fear mongering. The whole premise is to make you afraid of the chemicals that are in your makeup products. So some brands are taking advantage of that. They are fear mongering you into purchasing their clean beauty. And Kosas is the perfect example of what can go wrong when, you don't use an effective preservative system in your makeup products. They go bad, they go moldy, they go rancid, they go bad very quickly. And this has been a recurring issue with Kosas. It's not like one formula they've come out with that has had issues. It's literally the foundation going bad, the concealer literally growing mold, their lip pencils, which they recently re-released. When those released the first time, which was not that long ago now, those lip pencils literally on launch day were rancid. People were literally ordering them and receiving their brand new just launched lip pencils, and they were already rancid. So at this point, it's a pattern. It's a pattern of issue. It's a pattern of Kosas not figuring out the correct preservative system and then marketing it as clean beauty. This whole thing will get me up in arms, because you guys, it is so much less harmful to actually have preservatives in your makeup, keeping it clean and not making it go moldy, than to use a product that does not have proper preservatives in it and to use those moldy items on your face. So please keep that in mind if you are someone who is swayed by this whole clean marketing thing. Again, if you're gonna use makeup products, it is much safer to not have mold in them. And Kosas has had this be a recurring issue. So because of that, that's one of the main reasons why I just have not vibed with the brand. But also, I just don't feel like their formulas are really for me. I did do a review of the Kosas Revealer Foundation and the concealer that they released that got super popular in Sephora. I'll leave that review video linked below. But I personally didn't have a terrific experience with either formula. formula. They're too glowy and they're just not what I'm looking for when it comes to makeup. That's a totally subjective opinion. I don't think the mold is subjective, but the formulations and the way they perform is subjective. And I just know Kosas does a lot of their face products with a super glowy finish, almost like a sticky, dewy, tacky finish, which is just not what I'm looking for, again, in makeup. But I know Kosas is a really popular brand, so I know some of you guys will probably not agree with me on that one. This next brand, though, I am very curious to know your guys' thoughts on. The next makeup brand that I want to love but just can't is Typology. Typology is a French brand. Their formulations are French. And again, it's very like clean. It almost looks clinical. It almost looks like lab makeup. Their packaging is very like simple. It's very basic. It's elevated basics, I guess. And I don't mind the overall look of the brand. In fact, it is a little appealing to me. But my issue with Typology, number one, my main issue, which is again, stemming back to the whole clean beauty thing, is the way they market this brand is that they ban over 1,300 dangerous ingredients. They keep touting, because it's a European formula, that Europe has much stricter standards than the US in terms of their formulations, which isn't totally incorrect, but it's also not totally correct. Europe does have different cosmetic laws than the US does, but Europe actually does allow a lot of ingredients in their products that the US does not, and vice versa, I'm sure. It's just they're different regulation systems. But again, I don't like the fear mongering of it. I don't like the we ban 1,300 dangerous chemicals. Like, of course you're gonna ban certain chemicals. Like, you're gonna ban lead, you're gonna ban mercury. Like, nobody is putting that stuff in makeup, whether it be from a French brand or any other brand. Like, nobody's allowing this. But that's the way they're marketing it. They're almost like, well, if you buy from a US company, there's these 1,300 chemicals that they're putting in their makeup. It's like, no, the US does not allow lead in our makeup either. I just don't appreciate marketing rooted in fear mongering. Like, let your products speak for themselves. Don't scare me into buying your products over another brand's. And then here's where the actual products Typology offers has some issue for me. I don't like their color range, you guys. I think it's very, very clear what skin tone this brand is marketing to. Even with their actual skin tint, they only have 6 shades, which I guess is okay if you're doing a skin tint, like a very, very light coverage product, but I don't think the range is very good. And I know for sure the deepest skin tone will not be able to find a shade in this even 6 product range. But even like their lip oils and stuff, I just don't like the range of their products. I don't feel like the colors they're offering are very good or flattering for a tan to deeper complexion. This is just based, of course, in my own preferences and my own color preferences and what I know works on my skin tone. And Typology just doesn't offer anything great for that. I don't know, their formulas might be great. I know a lot of their offering is skincare, so those are obviously colorless products. But if we're talking about the actual color products that they offer, like their makeup, I am not, unfortunately, not interested. It does seem like a cool brand, but I don't love the fear mongering, and then I don't love their color range. But again, if you have used Typology and you're like, no, Ishani, you are absolutely missing out, you need to try this product, let me know, because it's a brand I want to love, but I just can't. I'm about to get some of you guys upset at me. I already know. I know plenty of people in my real life that do love products from this brand, but you guys, Glow Recipe, I want to love this brand, but I just can't. There is nothing that I have tried from Glow Recipe that I love. And I have actually tried a lot. I've tried a lot of Glow Recipe items. I think their overall marketing and their packaging, obviously it's super cute. The bright colors, the scents, like it's so adorable, and I want to actually love their formulas. But every time I try one of their skincare products, I come away feeling like the scent is nice, the packaging is cute and colorful, but the formula is not doing anything. anything for me. I feel like I'm using skincare that is targeted towards a teenager, somebody who maybe doesn't have as many skin issues or isn't trying to, you know, super hydrate their skin. And at this point in my life, try to prevent more wrinkles from forming, try to get some anti-aging up on the skin. You know, we're trying to do a little something, something. And Glow Recipe is just, I've never found anything that has done anything for my 31-year-old face. I've tried most of what's in their watermelon line. I've tried their avocado eye cream. I've tried the niacinamide dewdrops. I've even tried the new ones in the Sun Glow. I've tried that pore blurring primer skin smoother thing they had. Nothing I've tried has actually done that great of a job. So this one does kind of make me sad. But again, I know a lot of people who love Glow Recipe. I have given them chance after chance after chance, and I think I've just realized it's probably not my brand. I want to love it, but I just can't. This next one is a brand that has fallen from the reins. I mean, this was the queen of makeup for a hot minute. We're talking about Pat McGrath. Pat McGrath Labs as a brand has gone through a lot on my channel. It started off at the bottom, okay? Pat McGrath, if you guys don't remember the OG Pat McGrath products that she released, they came in those sequin pouches in the most at the drugstore Dollar Tree makeup packaging. The formulas she had have always been good for the most part. They've always been really good, but the packaging when Pat McGrath first came out was garbage. Then it started increasing. She released the matte lipsticks and her eyeshadow palettes. Packaging, impressive. Literally some of the best packaging on the market. Heavy, beautiful, the beveled mirror in the eyeshadow palettes, just stunning. And Pat McGrath was really on a high. When she first released her 3 eyeshadow palettes, everybody went absolutely ballistic over them. They were one of my top obsessions. I've done videos on Pat McGrath over the years. I've gone through a journey with this brand. But at this point, if you guys have not been paying attention to what Pat McGrath has been releasing, I don't blame you, because Pat McGrath has been releasing the exact same product over and over and over again. The Pat McGrath Divine Rose palette, the Pat McGrath Rose palette, another Pat McGrath Rosy palette, another Pinky Rosy palette, another Pinky Rosy palette. Pat McGrath absolutely has gone off the deep end. I feel like at this point they are they're just making a fool out of us. I feel like they're just running it back. Like they just keep running it back. I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day. Or what's that movie? Like 51st States. I feel like I'm on 51st States. I keep waking up and seeing another Pat McGrath release and I'm like, wait, I swear I've seen this before. Where have I seen this before? Oh yeah, I saw this yesterday. You wake up the next day, same thing again. It just keeps happening again. Pat McGrath, we need to get it together. I want to fall back in love with this brand. I want to so hard, because at this point, the packaging of the brand is really, really nice. You know, it's not like it was initially. The formulas overall tend to be really nice. They have changed over the course of time. And in my opinion, I feel like they have kind of gone down from her peak. But I think as a whole, the formulas are still pretty good. It's just, why do we keep seeing the same thing over and over and over again? There's no innovation being had in this brand anymore, and it makes me so sad because Pat McGrath did feel like a Danessa Myricks at the time. When Pat McGrath originally launched her brand, it felt like an innovative formulas, innovative colors, like it felt like an innovative brand, but at this point they've lost it. They've completely and totally lost it. Danessa Myricks, in my opinion, does do innovative products. She's giving new age Pat McGrath, in my opinion. So Pat McGrath, it's just how the mighty have fallen. How the mighty have fallen. So sad. But I am open to Pat McGrath changing my mind in the future. I'm open to them actually coming out with something amazing and innovative and not in a rosy neutral, and I'm open to it. I really am. This next brand I'm talking about, I'm kind of using as a umbrella brand for many luxury makeup brands out there, but I'm just gonna say Guerlain is one of them. This is a brand that I want to love. They have some really cult classic products. We're talking the Guerlain Meteorites, their bronzer, the lipsticks. Like there are some Guerlain products that are so popular, but we just have to be honest with ourselves, okay? We're gonna be a little honest. We're gonna have a heart to heart. Guerlain knows they know that they are not inclusive. We know they're not inclusive. They know they're not inclusive. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. If you look at any of their product ranges, they do not have a good shade range at all. Like they will literally have a foundation formula that has like 25 shades and 2 of them are dark. And maybe like 4 of them are tan and everything else is light. Everything else is light, medium at best. They're constantly releasing limited edition products like limited edition meteorite shades, limited edition bronzer shades in the summertime. And it is never a medium or tan or deep skin tone. Everything they release is geared towards a light complexion. And here's the sad thing. When I started on YouTube, again, 14 years ago now, I knew that this was the case across the beauty community. This was pre-Fenty Beauty. This was honestly, inclusivity. This is when I was the darkest foundation shade in most ranges. And there were actually a lot of makeup brands that I was too dark for even their darkest foundation color. Brands that I can think of off the top of my head, Neutrogena, Chanel, Dior, Almay. Like there were so many brands that either I was the darkest shade or I was too dark even for their darkest shade. Or they had like that 1 or 2 token deep shade, but there was nothing that was like a tan complexion, you know? You guys know the ranges. If you were in the beauty community back then, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't have to explain myself. But the sad thing is that was so common in luxury makeup specifically that you could not find tan or deeper skin tone appropriate shades. And because it was so normalized back then, like I didn't even necessarily think anything of it, which is so crazy to think about now because thank God we have brands that are releasing full shade ranges and things. But again, back then it was just normal. MAC and Makeup Forever were specifically the 2 brands that did have an impressive shade range. And that's because those 2 brands did gear towards makeup artists. And of course, when you're a makeup artist, you are putting makeup on all skin tones versus I guess you makeup artists weren't buying Chanel to use on deeper skin tones. I don't know what the situation was. Obviously, I'm sure there's a lot of psychology that went behind those choices with those brands, but I do feel like a lot of the brands, not all of them, but a lot of those brands have fixed their ways and at least in the past 5, 6, 7 years have adjusted their shade ranges and fixed this issue. Guerlain seems to be one of the ones that's really lagging behind. This definitely seems like a luxury brand where they're like, yeah, we don't want you guys to participate. We don't want deeper skin tones to be wearing our makeup. And that rubs me the wrong way. So Guerlain, you give me the ick. You give me the ick, all right? Yeah, so I want to love you, but why would I? Here's another controversial one for you guys. Yeah, I know you guys are gonna hate me because I'm really just kicking a dead horse here. Merit Beauty. I want to love this brand. I really do want to love this brand, but I did a full review video reviewing every formula that Merit Beauty had. This was before they released their cream eyeshadows, so I didn't have that formula, but everything else in the brand I reviewed. From their lip oil, lipsticks, bronzer stick, highlighter stick, their foundation stick, mascara, blush, I did the full roundup. I'll link that video below in case you guys haven't seen it. But for those of you guys who have seen it, you know that I don't love any formula from Merit. My favorite is the lip oil, but I will admit it's not my favorite lip oil from all brands. It's just my favorite product in that brand. And I know so many people that obsess over Merit. Again, maybe part of it has to do with the fact that they are also rooted in the clean beauty marketing, but even more than that, again, I just don't feel like their formulas have worked really well for me. This is most likely a personal preference on the way I like to do my makeup and the way I like my makeup to look and wear throughout the day. But Merit products tend to be very sheer in pigmentation. They also tend to be really glowy and dewy. Again, not my vibe. And the longevity on most of their makeup is pretty subpar in my opinion. I think for a lot of the products, you're paying a pretty high price tag for the amount of product you're getting. I do think the packaging overall is cute. I like the overall aesthetic of the brand. Again, it's very sleek, minimal. I don't have anything against that. It's just the overall formulas, and I don't know. I haven't found anything I super love from that brand, but I do want to love it. And I do keep my eye out for new Merit formula releases. And every time they release something new, I hope that that's going to be something that I will obsess over. I know they came out with their matte lipsticks recently, and I swatched them during the Sephora sale, and I didn't pick any of them up. More so just because of the color range. Sometimes their color ranges are a little bit weird too. So I don't know. I mean, I'm waiting for the perfect Merit product to just kind of hit me, but I haven't found it yet. Haven't found it yet, but I'm open to it. This next one just kind of makes me sad. It makes me sad because KVD Beauty was one of my favorite makeup brands. When the original Kat Von D brand was launched, I purchased the original eyeshadow palettes, and I pretty much collected every single formula and palette she released over the years. And then the brand self-imploded because Kat Von D herself self-imploded. The brand tanked, okay? Their sales tanked. When KVD Beauty was Kat Von D Beauty, it was one of, if not the biggest selling brand in Sephora. Sephora was selling so much Kat Von D Beauty. It was literally the quickest growing brand in Sephora at the time. And this is a perfect example of just be careful if you come out with a brand. Be careful putting your name directly on it, because then the brand is very, very directly linked with you and your reputation. We've seen it happen with Kat Von D. We've seen it happen with Jeffree Star. We've seen it happen over and over again. I do think there'll be a point where people finally understand that they should probably not put their name directly on the makeup brand, because while yes, it can be a major asset, you have to be an absolute unproblematic queen for it to last a very long time with your name on it. Just my opinion. I just always think it's safer to not stick your name on something. But anyways, Kat Von D learned the hard way. So that brand went tanked. And then from what I understand, I do believe that the umbrella brand, which I believe is LVMH, they bought the brand fully from Kat Von D and essentially kind of ousted her, which was the right move because it was Kat Von D that made the brand go like this and then go like that. So understandable. But after that whole thing, they never got their footing again. They were trying to rebrand that brand like 4 times over. Do you guys remember all of the trash names? All the trash names that they were coming out with. They were trying not to have to rebrand it from KVD, but they stopped having KVD stand for Kat Von D and they started having it, what was it? It was something in like Latin or something, like Creatos Vita something. It was something so weird. And then they rebranded it from that because that didn't make any sense. And then they made it like Creation something beauty, Creativity something beauty. What the heck was it? I can't even remember. It was so bad. It was so bad. They had rebranded it a couple times trying to make the KVD work and not have it be Kat Von D. KVD don't stand for anything at this point, okay? It's just KVD. Unfortunately, the brand has not released anything that has been super stellar. I know their like Good Apple foundation really did make the rounds on TikTok for a hot minute, but that was a few years ago now, and that's the last thing I remember being even a semi-decent launch for them. And this isn't to say that I dislike some of the formulas I've tried, because I have tried some of their eyeliners recently, and I tried their, I think it was their Good Apple liquid foundation in the glass bottle, and I do actually like that formula. So this isn't anything against the formulations they come out with. I just really think the brand, I hate to say this, but I do think the brand just needs to close. I think they just need to close the brand, and if LVMH wants to come out with a new brand and release new formulas and just scrap the whole KVD business completely, that might benefit them. that might just benefit them, because when a brand is just going so quickly up and then just takes such a tank, it's hard to recover. I just can't imagine that brand is doing too great right now. And yeah, that's actually just a sad story. Honestly, there's a lot of sad stories in the beauty community that I know of from having been in it for so long at this point. If we want to talk beauty community, just sad stories, we can do that in another video, but Kat Von D is definitely one of them. Just as a brand, the brand KVD is just such a sad story. I'm acting like the brand is closing. There's no word that the brand is closing, but I just wouldn't be surprised if it happened. And at this point, I feel like that's going to be the last ditch effort, is you got to just close it at this point. This is another brand that I feel like falls into the similar bucket as Kosas and Merit. And the other brand I want to love, but I just can't, is ILIA. ILIA is a brand that I don't know if I've tried anything from. That's a good question. I might have tried a lip product at some point from their brand, but the fact that I can't even remember is making me feel like it obviously wasn't anything mind-blowing or revolutionary. To me, ILIA feels like the little sister of something like a Merit. I feel like Merit, based on the overall look, looks a little bit more elevated, a little bit more luxurious, just in the overall packaging and the way they represent the brand, versus ILIA is giving me like upscale Glossier vibes. It's very minimal. All the packaging is white. It's super simple, and I don't dislike the way it looks, but I also have never gravitated towards their formula. I also feel like because their packaging is so basic, every time I look at the brand, even if they have a new formula or product launch, I almost can't tell, because the whole ILIA gondola just looks the same. Like, it's just a blur of white. So even any new products they come out with, like I think they have a new stick foundation, maybe, I could be wrong, maybe, but again, I can't tell because I look at their gondola in Sephora and I'm like, this is all just white. And I like white. I do. I like the overall aesthetic of something that's clean and white, but I do feel like a little bit of variety or a little bit of pizzazz could make this brand just visually more appealing. And I know if we're just boiling it down, formulas are formulas, packaging is packaging. They're two different things. Like, if the formula is amazing and the packaging doesn't totally suck, it shouldn't really matter. But with the sheer amount of brands we have to pick from, the amount of formulas and products we have to pick from nowadays, everything kind of has to be on point. Like the packaging, the marketing, the way it looks to the eye, as well as the experience applying it, the way it looks on the skin, the way it wears on the skin. Everything should be taken into account, because this isn't 14 years ago when we had like 3 foundation formulas to pick from. We have so many stick foundations. So why would I pick the ILIA stick foundation when it's not even just I'm not gravitating towards it? Why would I pick that one over all the other stick foundations that I can pick from? So it's not that I dislike anything from ILIA. I just haven't really tried anything from the brand because I don't know. I can't get over that emotional hurdle of the way everything looks. However, this is a brand I'm very open to trying. So if there's anything from ILIA that you're like, yes, Ishani, you have to try this product from ILIA, leave that in the comments below. If you could leave a little detailed explanation of what the packaging looks like, so when I'm looking at the ILIA gondola and my vision just blurs because everything looks the same, I can actually, visually say, oh, this was coming in a glass white bottle instead of the plastic white bottle. That would be helpful. The next brand that I want to love, but I just can't, is Milk Makeup. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't dislike Milk Makeup as a whole. There are some formulas from Milk Makeup that I actually do like. I do think their Hydro Grip Primer, which I think is like their best-selling product. The face primer, I think, is pretty good. From there, they released like an eye primer and a Hydro Grip setting mist. Neither of those formulas I'm not crazy about, but the original Hydro Grip Primer I think is pretty good. I also like their I think it's the Pore Eclipse Primer. That one's pretty good too. I know over the years, some other formulas of theirs have been really popular, like their powder highlighters, their mascara, the like Kush mascara they have. I know that got popular at one point. I'm not trying to necessarily say this brand is bad. I just feel like a lot of their new releases that they've been coming out with, I can't get on board with. So much of Milk Makeup nowadays, it gives me gimmicky vibes. Here's the way I view it. There is a very, very fine line between innovation and gimmick. unique. Because I feel like every color, every formula, every product, everything has been made in the beauty community. I understand that in order to stand out, you kind of have to be creative, you have to be innovative. But again, this is where it's like, where is that line? To me, Danessa Myricks Beauty, which is not technically in this video, but I've talked about her a few times now. That makeup brand to me gives innovation. Not everything lands, not everything is perfect, not every formula is my perfect formula, but I understand where she's trying to do something new. She's trying to create a new formula or a new product, and some of them I really, really love. Like her Beauty Blur Balms, that is such a terrific formula. I love it. I love a lot of Danessa Myricks complexion-y type products. I do think Danessa Myricks as a whole releases some innovative formulas. And then you have a brand like Milk Makeup, where they have their Jello Jelly Stick blushes. These made the rounds about a month ago on YouTube because they are, while innovative, to me, they're a little gimmicky. They're essentially a blush stick, but the texture of it is like a Jello. It's unique, don't get me wrong. I don't think I've seen anything like that on the market personally, but it also felt like, why do we have this? Is Milk Makeup releasing this to solve a potential problem, or are they releasing this unique formula just for the gag of it, just to get viral, just to get TikTok famous off of it? And that was the vibe I got. I guess that's where the line is. I feel like Danessa Myricks creates formulas to solve actual problems versus I feel like Milk Makeup is solving issues that don't exist. I think they're just trying to go viral. It's not really an issue. Nobody needed a Jello blush stick. Nobody asked for that, but it was unique. And then they also have this foaming primer. It essentially comes out like foaming hand soap. You know, you just pump it out like foam and then put it on as a primer. And again, to me, I feel like, what problem is this solving? I never had an issue with using a normal primer. Give me a normal liquid. Give it to me in like a balm form. Give it to me in a gel form. I didn't need it in a foam. It just feels like not something that I'm into. Like, I'm not trying to fall for the gimmicks that Milk Makeup has been releasing. Now, if I'm being honest, I am curious to see what other gimmicks Milk Makeup can come out with in the future. But I feel like when we're trying to do innovation, it would be so nice if the innovation was actually rooted in necessity. I just don't think any Milk Makeup innovation has been rooted in necessity. It's just all random stuff that looks like fun play makeup, but we didn't really need it, if we're being honest. The final brand I want to talk about in this video, the final brand that I want to love, but I just can't, is Melt Cosmetics. Melt Cosmetics is a brand that I have loved ever since they first launched. If you guys were around with me back in the day, Melt Cosmetics originally launched their brand with their eyeshadow stacks. Or actually, you know what? I think it was their lipsticks. I think they had matte lipsticks before they even had their eyeshadow stacks. And I remember purchasing a bunch of those lipsticks. They had really fun colors, and they were one of the first brands to come out with fun colors like that. And then when they released their eyeshadow stacks, I jumped on those. I think I bought them at a Fame Expo or at an IMATS or one of those beauty conventions that I was going to back in the day. So I loved Melt Cosmetics. I literally got into the brand essentially when they launched, and I feel like I kind of grew with the brand as they grew out of their eyeshadow stacks and they were releasing the actual eyeshadow palettes. I was buying those, like the Gemini and all of those palettes. I remember when they came out with their digital dust highlighters, and I made a whole video on those. I was super excited about that launch. However, where I think Melt Cosmetics made their biggest downturn is that they changed their formula. And where I can pinpoint it happening is when Melt got into Sephora stores. Once Sephora scooped up Melt Cosmetics, I feel like their quality went from up here, like it was the creme de la creme of indie makeup, and it really started taking a decline. I understand why that could be the case, because I don't doubt that those formulas were very expensive to produce, and I also don't doubt that they probably didn't have enough of a margin to realistically pull in a middleman like Sephora. Sephora is a huge retailer, okay? Sephora wants their cut. And they want a large cut. And they want a cut that a lot of brands can't realistically afford and keep up the high quality formulas they have. So my guess is that Melt Cosmetics took on the Sephora partnership thinking that they would be able to get a lot of eyes onto the brand. And in order to fulfill those Sephora orders and to also create enough of a margin for Melt to profit and for Sephora to profit, and then not have to price the products to an exorbitant amount for the customer, is that they cut the costs during production. My guess is that they went to a manufacturer that could cut the cost, could cut the product cost, could cut the packaging costs a bit. And I do feel like specifically with the formulas, those took a hit. I could be wrong. This is all me speculating, okay? This is speculation. This is just me knowing what I know of the back end of owning a brand, as well as the back end of knowing how it works when you get into retailers and how all of that works. If Sephora is requesting X amount of palettes and they put in a PO for X amount of palettes, you better fulfill that. You better fulfill that to the price that they are willing to pay, because it is almost worth it just to get exposure for your brand. And unfortunately, if you have to cut costs in order to fulfill at the price that Sephora wants it, you're gonna have to cut costs on your end, and your product might suffer. And I want to say it one more time for those of you guys in the back, I don't know if this is what happened. This is just me speculating, but I can say that once Melt came into Sephora, any of the formulas I used kind of from there on out, they just weren't the same. The eyeshadows were patchy, they didn't blend good. Just also the overall colors and the color range and the products they were releasing just didn't feel very Melt. They went the Urban Decay route, you know, they went the safe route, they went the route of let's please the mass market, because when you're in a mass market like Sephora, you want to please as many customers as possible. So you're not going to come out with the bright neon blue eyeshadow palette. You're going to come out with something that's safe to make sure it sells through. And I understand why you would do that. It's just unfortunate that that's something they had to do, and I guess a compromise that they ended up making, because I feel like it hurt the brand. In my opinion, I think it hurt the brand. The reason Melt even came to the forefront of my mind is because they just released the Smoke Sessions 2 palette, which, can I just say, I am so tempted to buy that palette. It's gorgeous, you guys. The palette is stunning. It is so pretty. I love purple eyeshadow, and this palette is just beautiful. I worry about the quality of this palette. I worry that this Melt palette is going to be similar to the recent Melt palettes that have just disappointed me quality wise, but I think the colors are gorgeous. I think it's such a pretty launch. But yeah, Melt is a brand that I want to love. I want to fall back in love with it, but I'm kind of nervous, I'm kind of worried. And while I understand why this could have happened to the brand, it's sad that it did. So there you have it. Those are the 10 brands that I want to love, the 10 brands I want to get into, but for one reason or another, I just can't. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? And if you disagree, because I know a lot of you guys out there will, why do you disagree with me? Don't be aggressive. We don't need to get aggressive with it. These are just makeup brands. We're all good. We're all friends here. But I am curious, because I know we all have our own opinions. We all have our own experiences and our own makeup preferences. So I would love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to thumbs it up if you liked it, and be sure to subscribe so you guys stay up to date with all of my new videos. But until next time, I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I will talk to you in my next video very soon. I'll see you then. Bye.